Hot take, reclassing is bad and only works in Fates. I don't think that's a hot take. I disagree with it, but that is a very common, like, you know, boomer Fire Emblem take. That is probably one of the coldest takes imaginable. And I don't mean any offense by that, but it is a cold take. I feel like that's most hot takes, though. It's like, hot take, a thing that 50% of the fandom believes anyway. Hot take, desert maps are bad. It works if there's a limitation, and the best is obtaining something through a support. Someone should make a video about that. Oh wait, I did. I mean, I think reclassing works best when there's limitations, but I don't think it's bad overall. I think the main thing I don't like is when it is literally free, like in Engage. That I don't like. The Engage class variety is pretty awful. Yeah, that adds to it as well. Oh, shit! Fucking hell. Okay, Kaga's turn wheel, what is this? Charge number 3? The problem was I made her a Divine Dragon. Going Divine Dragon was a mistake. Like, she should just be Demon Dragon. S-rank on-foot classes having worse bases than mounted classes confuses me. Do they actually? Because all I remember is, like, Paladin feeling really middling. I guess the idea is they can use S-ranks is what evens it out. In quotation marks, evens it out. Because, you get the S-ranks super late and most of them kind of suck, it feels like. Swordmaster has no strength. Swordmaster stats so bad that they had to buff Kagetsu to astronomical levels to make him even look good in his base class. I'm convinced the only reason I like reclassing is because I naturally find myself not always going for the same optimal classes, so my whole team is not the same few classes, but that's just me, so it's not applicable at every playthrough. No, I do that in Rev as well. You know, I don't do, like, bad classes, but there's very few Fates classes that are actually bad. Even if they're not, quote-unquote, optimal. You know, it's basically just Armor Knight, right? That's, like, actually bad. And some of the Hoshiden classes, but even then, like, Armor Knight has niches. You know, Benny Gaming. The thing is that in Engage, the bad classes... There's so many classes that just feel like, what is even the point of this, right? Like Halberdier. And the gap between good and bad classes is so extreme that, like, it feels actively bad to use the quote-unquote suboptimal classes in Engage. Halberdier's for lugging Louis around, but wouldn't he just rather be a general so he gets, like, actual bulk? I think Louis would rather be a general than a halberdier. Because the positioning requirements for getting the pincer attack is, like, actually pretty obnoxious. I think he'd rather be benched by chapter 15. 15 is pushing it. I think he gets benched, like, chapter 10, 11. I usually bench him as soon as we lose the rings. Louis wants the silver Great Lance, then actually double. Just fucking, like, here's the thing, like, pincer attack is so obnoxious to set up. You're basically spending 2 units to get someone to double, right? Because it is so rare you can put someone in pincer attack formation and have them actually take a meaningful turn. I made Louis a Great Knight and used him long term. I just had a Forged and Engraved Silver Lance. Unironically helpful for the challenge run. Yeah, like, Great Knight's also a good class for Louis, if you're trying to use him long term. I don't think he's particularly good long term. But he's also not particularly bad long term. I mean, people use Timerra in endgame, right? Louis gotta be better than that. You might hit with the 30% Sandstorm proc. The Sandstorm cope is unreal. Even on hard mode, Timerra feels bad on her join map. I had to run the Timerra numbers again recently because I got a comment on my engaged tier list that was like, Timerra's actually good, it's just her starting inventory that's bad. Give her a Forged Javelin and she actually doubles everyone. And I ran the numbers and I was like, nope, with a Forged Javelin, she has between 12 and... I think it's between 12 and 15 speed, depending on the level of Forge, because they didn't clarify the level of Forge. And so I just had to remind myself that, her stats don't function. Yeah, basically that. Like, her starting inventory definitely does her no favors, but even if she has lower weight weapons, it's just not, you know, in the bag. You get one-shots with effective weapons, and that's more effective weapons than Louis. What do you mean? She has one weapon type! Louis can use every weapon she can use. Like, she's just a lance unit, and he's just a lance unit. Unless you're reclassing them. But, like, if you're reclassing them, then Timerra doesn't even have Sandstorm to cope on, and then her stats, like, extra don't work. She wants to be a speedy tank, but Silver Lance slows her down. I'm not in favor of Timerra, I'm just against Louis long term. But, like, again, the point doesn't stand, though. Like, what do you mean effective weapons Louis can't use? They use the same weapons. And Louis has, like, functional builds, so, you know, if you want to be pedantic about it, you could be like, there's more weapons Louis can use, but his speed is garbage, so, like, who cares, right? Because even if he's not getting slowed down, he's, you know, he's slow. Just invest in Goldmary instead. I don't think Goldmary's very good either. I think the job of being a hero who's very close to the chain attack, dual chain attack thing is, not actually good. But I think people overvalue chain attacks because they're scary when the enemies use them. And therefore, it feels like, oh, if the enemies make good use of them, I should be able to make good use of them. But it's like the Conquest Captures, where, like, sometimes stuff that's good for the enemy just isn't as good for you. Here's the thing, I like chain attacks because they chip 10% HP before combat starts, and you can barely reach a kill threshold. I think most units are going to be able to reach kill thresholds without them. They're also not reliable, so if you're relying on a chain attack to be the thing that gets you to a kill threshold, I think that's a bad plan. Chain attack is less accurate than Fire Blast in Pokemon. I don't think that's true, right? Isn't Fire Blast 80% 1RN and chain attacks are 80% 2RN? So they're more accurate than Fire Blast. Fire Blast is 85%. Okay, so it's 85% 1RN versus 80% 2RN. Let's pull up the RN table. At the 2RN table. 80% 2RN is 92% 1RN, so chain attacks are still more accurate than Fire Blasts. I don't like using an Excel sheet to check if I can kill something. That's fair.